Hey guys, good morning and happy Saturday. It's a fine Saturday morning out here. Warm, slightly warm. It rained last evening. But today I wanted to continue my conversation from yesterday night. I've been using the Nikon Z8 and I love it, but in my last video I kind of posted the problems that I was facing and the issues that I've had using this camera as compared to my other camera, which is the Z9. Now the Z9 by far is the best camera out there in the market, period, end of story. And this is coming in from a Sony user, guys. I used to have the Sony a7 III. I had the Sony a7R III. I sold all of that Sony system. I stayed back with the Sony a7C, which I think is an amazing street camera, marvel of engineering. I can't believe that a full frame camera is so small. So I kept my Sony a7C and I kept some of my lenses coming from Sony, but I use the Nikon system these days. My favorite thing about the Nikon is the color contrast, the color processing, that the color palette that Nikon has. Although raw image does not matter that much, but again the color palette is amazing, and I just kept like the Nikon file system and Nikon color science. I don't want to debate on that topic today, by the way, okay? But I'm saying why I tend to come back to Nikon all the time. I have been using the Z8 recently, and in my last video, like I said, I had posted the issues that I face with my Z8. I want to be clear on one thing. I got some hate messages from the Nikon users. I want to let you know, to all those users who love Nikon, that I love Nikon as well. It's not that I have started hating Nikon, but I want to pass a message to Nikon, clear message, that if you charge $4,000, it's not a lot, it's not a small amount of money, it's a big amount of money. If you charge this kind of money from your user base, and it takes you 18 months to come up with a camera which has 90% or 95% of the features that the Z9 has, then try to come up with a good camera, guys. It's a failure on Nikon's per se that, and I'm getting pissed off with the way Nikon is delivering its products these days. The price is the same, but the quality is not at par with the competition. I had issues with the Sony a7R too, but after the Sony a7 III came out, I had no issues with the Sony. After the Canon R5 came out, I am hearing no issues, really not that many issues, manufacturing issues, quality issues that are coming up with Canon. Why is Nikon doing this to the user base? And that's a big problem, and I don't like that, and I want Nikon to know that I use Nikon cameras. I will continue to use them because, like I said, because of the color science and the file formatting. But please don't produce cameras that have silly issues like straps coming out, and just design it properly. Not a lot of people liked my previous video, but that's okay. That doesn't stop me from speaking the truth. I use the Z9 and I use the Z8, and I can very clearly recommend Z9 for semi-professionals and professionals. For amateurs and crossover semi-professionals, you can still continue to use the Z8. That's not a problem. But in today's video, I want to spend time talking about something very different from the previous conversation, something that has been requested by the people who watch my videos. I want to talk about the adapters that I've been using with my Z8. Now, I have been using adapters for a long time. When I had my Z6, I had an adapter. I still use it. When I had my Z8, I still use my adapters, and I'm going to walk you through the ones that I use. We will also look at the performance of those adapters. I'll add another video following this video. But let's get introduced to the adapters that I use and the ones that I recommend, okay? So right here, this is, if you can see it, this is the Techart This is the Techart adapter. Okay, and this is an autofocus adapter, guys. This is an autofocus adapter from Techart, right there, and it's called TZM02. Now, I have been using Techart adapters and I feel it works very well on Sony cameras. Like if I use a Techart adapter on Sony, it works perfectly, no issues. But for Nikon, I would not recommend that highly. I can do a video on that one, it'll come in the next video, but it is an autofocus adapter. What it does is it converts a M mount lens like this small 40 mm. See this? Small. How small this is? That's a 40 mm f1.4 Voigtlander. See how small this thing is? That's how big it is. That's how big it is. This is a 40 mm Voigtlander that I use. It's one of my favorite street photography lenses. Absolute favorite street photography lenses. It is a 1.4. It goes up to 1.4, and the images coming out of it are fantastic, amazing color contrast, amazing lens. So when I moved over from Sony, I kept this lens because again I didn't find any other lens that was as good as the Voigtlander Nocturne 40 mm f1.4. It's a Nocturne classic lens. The image coming out of it looks very different, very unique. If you want to do portraits with it, which I've tried, the portraits would look slightly from the 90s or 80s, and the color contrast isn't that sharp, the bright color contrast, but you will like it. I think you'll like it more than any other lens that you're using. I mean, there's something with the Voigtlanders that gives you a different kind of image, which I like it. I keep it with myself. This is one of my favorite go-to lenses. So when I put it on a Techart adapter, this is the profile. So as I put it on a Techart adapter, this is how big it looks like. See what I'm saying? It feels like it has been made for the Z8. I mean, the Z8 by itself is a very good camera, but when you put this on a Techart adapter, this manual focus lens becomes autofocus, and it captures all the data that an autofocus lens would do. How does it perform? So on a Techart, the performance is in a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. I would say it's 8.5 to 9. The Techart adapters are good when you start using it for smaller focal lengths, okay? And 40 mm, 35 mm, 28 mm, 75 mm are okay. In my experience, as you go over the 75 mm, you will have some issues focusing on the Techart. Not the best, but that's what it is. I mean, that's very honest feedback. Should you buy the Techart should you buy the Techart autofocus adapter? Yes. I mean, yeah. If you like Voigtlander lenses, if you like smaller lenses, if you like the color contrast coming out of these Leica M mount lenses, yeah, go use it. I would recommend the Techart adapter. Now let me show you how it looks like when you put it on a Z8. I feel like it's perfectly built for that Z8. So let's take this out. So that's my Z8 and that's my Techart. You heard the click sound. That's the profile. That's the profile. See that? That's the profile. Now let's take a look at how it focuses. So what Techart says is that I should bring it to 1.8 for 1.4 35 mm lenses. You have to change this to infinity focus, if you can see the infinity focus, right? And let's see. You see that? You see the inner barrel move right here? So the way it focuses is the inner barrel moves a few millimeters forward and back, and that is enough to focus the image on the sensor. And I have had no issues so far. Other than that, it's slightly slow. For photography, it's amazing. For video, I wouldn't recommend that, because you would get the movement noise. See, it kind of makes a noise as it moves. You can hear that noise, right? So again, let me take a photo with it, and amazing, great, good focus. So that's one of my favorite lenses, and I'm using the Techart adapter for it. Now let's move to my absolute favorite lens, and I'm going to make a video on these lenses. My absolute favorite lens is the 50mm Voigtlander 50mm M-mount lens, right? This one, Voigtlander 50mm M-mount lens, and this is a f1.2. Absolutely freaking favorite lens. This is again a Leica made by, this is again for Leica cameras, M-mount cameras, made by Voigtlanders, and it's a manual focus lens. But once you adapt it to the Techart adapter, once you adapt it to the Z mount lens using the Techart adapter, it turns into an autofocus lens. And in my opinion, that's the profile. That's the profile with the 50mm f1.2. So I'm going to change it to 1.2. Set my camera for external mount lenses, and that's the profile, guys. This is a f1.2 lens that does autofocusing, and the images coming out of it are stunning. This is by far one of the best lenses I have used. So the benefit that you get out of using a Voigtlander on a Z mount is that you get the color contrast of the Z mount file system, but you merge it with the color contrast coming out of the Leica lens or a Voigtlander lens, and man, that is an amazing combination. That is an amazing image quality that you get. I don't know why people would pay that much money for Nikon Z mount 50 f1.2, which is a huge glass. I would rather go with the 85 1.2, but this is something that I would recommend people try it out. Voigtlander 50mm f1.2. Now this does have some chromatic aberration, but you can take that out, and it's a very simple process to take chromatic aberration out. I have no issues with that. I'm going to share some photos of this, the ones that I've taken with this lens. I hope you enjoy that. But the 50mm f1.2 is an amazing lens, guys. Go with it. Comes for around $800. I wouldn't spend a lot of money on the Z or S mount lens from Nikon 50mm f1.2. I would rather go with this. It's great for portraits. 85 1.2, although I have not used it, I don't have it, but I think that would be a perfect combination. Coming back to the second adapter, which is again an autofocus adapter, and this is the Megadap right there. You can see it, right? That's the profile. So the Megadap again is a autofocus adapter, and what it does is it takes a E-mount lens. In this case, this is a 20 mm E-mount lens, my Sony lens, which I used on my Sony cameras. And what you do is you adapt it to the Z-mount camera using the Megadap adapter. And this Megadap adapter actually is in its second iteration, and I will highly recommend this adapter. The only problem that you will face is that it's not a weather sealed adapter, but I have used it in light rain, didn't face any issues. But the autofocus is almost similar to a Z lens, and it's silent. So the Megadap adapter that you use for E-mount lenses are something that I will highly recommend. There are some E-mount lenses that are amazing, and you get to use those E-mount lenses on your Nikon Z. Nothing better than that right there. So that's my Sigma 20mm for the Sony cameras. It's 20mm f1.4. This is a fantastic lens, fantastic landscape lens, and I'm using it with my adapter, the Megadap E to Z adapter, autofocus adapter, and look guys how silent the autofocus is. The camera is autofocusing. I can see it. It has eye autofocus and everything else. It's autofocusing and not a single, I can't hear anything. It's super silent. This Megadap adapter for E-mount lenses is highly recommended. It converts an E-mount lens to pretty much very close to what a Z-mount lens would be. So if you're using the 50mm from Sony, that's a good lens. You can use that. If you're using the 85mm, which I use from Sigma for Sony, I still use that 85mm on my Sony cameras, and I kept that lens because it's amazing. It's a very good lens. So you can use that on your Z camera with that adapter. So again, guys, two different adapters that we spoke about today. The first one was the Techart adapter, which is the TZM02. It's a good adapter. Will convert a lot of your manual lenses into autofocus lenses on the Nikon Z camera. I highly recommend you try that. I usually end up using the Voigtlander 50mm f1.2 lens, which is again a very good lens, or the Voigtlander 40mm f1.4 lens, which is again a pancake lens with my adapter. So again, it's perfect for street photography or any genre of photography. So those are the two adapters, and I highly recommend that. In my next video, I'll put a lot of photos. I'll treat that video as a continuation of this one, and I'm going to put a lot of photos that I take with both these two adapters. The Megadap adapter that you have is fantastic. This is highly recommended. A 9.5 out of 10. It converts a E-mount lens to nearly a Z-mount lens without that extra cost that you would get. Yeah, go for it. With that being said, I'll post another video that is in sequence with this one. To take a look at it. Hopefully you'll like that. And in that one, I'll post a lot of photos that I take with all of these adapters. And the next video that I'll post is my review on the 3 lenses that I use, walk around lenses that I use along with this adapter. Hopefully you like it. Talk to you soon. Thank you guys. Bye.